A few weeks ago, I posted the top 10 new anime fights from 2020 to 2022. And guess what? It was a hit. There's not a lot of surprise there because it's pretty much established that you love to watch action sequences and the most breathtaking battles that anime has to offer. So I figured, why wait much longer for that Volume 2 I suggested? So that Volume 2 is happening right now. To add to that, I'll also be mostly talking about long runners and sequels because now that we got the new blood out of the way on the previous list, let's focus on some of the old guns and let them join in on the fun. And that's why we're starting off with Dorma and Gunha versus Misaka. Railgun and Index series have been a hallmark franchise of the mid-2000s, and while its glory days are long gone, Railgun T, released just 2 years ago, provided some of the best we've seen out of the franchise in the way of anime. It's pretty much unanimous that Railgun T is the best Railgun has ever been, and while I won't pin all that on the fight scenes, the climactic battle in the season's first arc is certainly a sight to see. On one corner, we have Misaka, in her most brutal we've ever seen her so far, and then on the other side, we have Dorma and his ever-trusty Imagined Breaker. But in this case, he's not alone, as he has help in the form of Gunha, one of the renowned top 10 strongest espers in Academy City. It's a fight that goes beyond what you would typically expect out of the genre, with a lot of awesome special effects and a substantial amount of strategy involved. Dorma and Gunha showed some chemistry here, and it's pleasing to see the callbacks and payoffs to Dorma and Misaka's relationship put on display in this fight. Railgun T is probably the last we'll see of the A-certain franchise in anime form in the foreseeable future, but at least they ended it on a bang. Speaking of Dengeki light novels, how about SAO's Berkoli vs. Vector? SAO's World of Underworld arc lives up to its billing. They promised a war, and we got a war full of awesome fights. It's SAO fighting in a scale we haven't seen before. There are lots of good fights featuring the side characters who rightfully got their shine thanks to Kirito being out for most of the arc. But the one that everyone remembers is Berkoli vs. Vector. This is a fight that left quite an impression. We all know A1 always adapts SAO with care if we're talking about the production side of things, but this fight went far and beyond what we know of. How about some special effects insanity that we'd typically only expect out of the biggest shonen titles in recent years? How about giving Berkoli a glorious exit that a lot of side characters can only dream of, defeating the supposed last boss of the whole arc and doing so too? Great fights with lots of stakes and drama. People who love SAO for the eye candy will find their expectations blown away by this. I would have said that, like the A-certain franchise, SAO is on its way out, having adapted all the web novel content and waiting for the final light novel arc to be wrapped up, but in the meantime, we have the progressive movies to keep us company. How about taking the trek back to Ironclad and re-experiencing the magic of 2012, only in a much better paced form this time? We proceed with Trevor vs. Death from Castlevania. They say that part of enjoying an anime battle is the immersion aspect of it. For gamers who tuned into the Netflix Castlevania, this fight featuring Trevor taking on Death has that in spades. The whole fight wouldn't look out of place in an actual video game, with its strong dialogue, meticulous movements, and a boss monster that towers over the hero. Even the way Death attacks and Trevor responds really makes it look like you're watching a playthrough of a video game. It even has that residual damage thing going on if you pay some extra attention. If you're looking for the most genuine Castlevania experience without actually wanting to pick up a controller, this anime is probably the best you'll ever get for it. And that, for me, makes this fight such a huge win. Next up is a staple favorite from My Hero Academia, Endeavor vs. High-End Nomu. Now, when we think of My Hero Academia, we often think of awesome moments featuring the main heroes. You know, the students or All Might. But somewhere in the mix of main characters or even main villain fights, we have this. You know what it is? The fight where we first got a chance to see Endeavor at peak performance. Endeavor versus Nomu is one of those fights that didn't have as much history or background revolving around the two combatants to build hype, but when you see the actual fight, you realize it doesn't need to. We have some dramatic stakes, however, as Endeavor will be facing a tremendous test as the new #1 hero. Mostly though, it's the actual fighting that does all the talking. With Hawks in tow, it's a clash that lets the heroes dig deep into their arsenal of tricks and show off their destructive capabilities. There's also no shortage of drama as the battle was quite touch and go, featuring some close calls for our heroes. Overall, a great fight that MHA fans rightfully remember. It's one of the best the show has given us in the past few years. Naruto makes a triumphant return into action in this Ishiki fight. When Boruto got announced, we all knew it would be a matter of time before Naruto finds his way back into action. And it didn't take too long at all. After all, Naruto has had a couple of notable fights in the sequel series already, but did anyone anticipate him getting a new form and engaging in such a hyped fight like the one he had with Ishiki? I mean, I didn't. There's not much build needed for this moment. After all, Ishiki had already shown his capabilities by defeating Naruto once. This is our old protagonist's attempt at redemption, and in doing so, he unlocks Baryon mode before giving us one of the most insane fights Boruto has to offer. It feels like we're back in the old days with this one, doesn't it? Seeing Naruto throw hands and fire off Rasengans with this much impact. The attacks came in fast and furious, and it really reminds me of how much I loved it when Naruto fights combined with magical powers with hand-to-hand fighting. The movements were all sharp, precise, and deliberate. Most importantly, however, is the aftermath. With such a monumental battle, a new form as this, we needed nothing short of drama at the end of it all, and the consequences of unleashing this new form hits hard. You know what else hits hard? Seeing the engagement numbers go up. So here's another segue for me to tell you to hit the like button if you're liking the video so far. In terms of sheer grit and emotion, not a lot can top this. It's something Gintama has always excelled in, showing the heavy emotions in its top fights, and it's a no-brainer that this finale has that aspect in spades. Gintama isn't the traditional shonen where it's all about the reality-warping powers or the fire-breathing, but it's mostly about the emotional stakes, the drama, the sheer outburst of feelings that get put in each strike in its fight. The battles are short and drama-heavy, and that's what makes this finale so cool. The funny thing about this fight is that we've already been teased about it way before, back when everyone thought Takasugi's gonna be the endgame boss. Like, it's a spoiler that only served to up the anticipation, and when we finally get to this moment, it's a classic bait and switch to give us this classic. Not only is it filled with emotional stakes, it also has a lot of callbacks to the past, and I think those only strengthened the fight in how it showed character development. The whole thing didn't end in a bang or an over-the-top attack, but it didn't need to. The dead silence and the short but decisive shots, they did the trick. In the end, it takes its time to let the whole sequence sink in for us, and I love it for that very reason. We move past Shonen Land and go to the niche territory with Oya vs Mast Outcasts. Here's something that you may not have seen. Well, probably. It's because it's in the 3rd season of Hitori no Shita, a series that I feel no one else watched. It's not something with a lot of hype behind it, so it didn't seem to be something to get excited about. That is, until you see the action. This by far is the best animated fight sequence we have to offer on this list. It's just insane how sleek everything looks. It doesn't sacrifice impact for all the smooth flow and emotions. There really is power behind those blows as the characters engage in hand-to-hand combat. This is truly an example of the anime team working overtime and showing their prowess in the field of animation, and I think it's something that you should definitely check out. We move on with Everyone vs Kaido, capping off a long-standing conflict that's defined a big part of One Piece. This has been a long time coming. Within the gallery of One Piece villains, I don't think anyone comes to the level of hype that Kaido has. None of them had this whole super overpowered wrecker of worlds appeal before, at least not to the level that Kaido does, even though they all have their share of feats. And have him team with Big Mom too? It's the unholy alliance that would take the might of not just the Straw Hats to overcome. And long before the day of reckoning had come, the clash against Kaido and the Beast Pirates gave me nothing but pure anticipation. The fight took a long while, and there are so many moments that you just gotta see to believe. However, it never felt dragging in any way, even if we got thrown multiple phases of the fight. In the end, it did come down to Luffy versus Kaido. I love how this fight is long, yet it never got boring because it shifted actors in and out, all the while giving the fight new twists and turns. Demon Slayers here, as expected, and we're looking at the hero group versus Daki and Gyutaro. And while it didn't have the year-long hype that the final Kaido confrontation had, this Demon Slayer fight employed the same techniques that the former one did. It's long, pretty much taking up around half of the season, but it never felt boring because, like the whole Kaido fight, we get to see the characters mix it up and fight the battle in multiple phases. In a way, it's like the characters tagged each other in and out with how the characters central to this conflict changes, and everyone gets to show off in various moments. What makes this fight even better is the signature artistic flair of Demon Slayer. It's been there ever since, but it goes especially well here now that they're fighting in an entertainment district. The whole classic theatre feel is just so fitting here. As always, there's a lot of notable moments that take place here, and having them paced well really helped extend interest in this battle while keeping it fresh with every episode. There's no best moment that I can pinpoint, to be honest, but I consider this as a combination of a lot of events to remember. From Nezuko first getting to fight, seeing the main group's sheer determination and wits, to simply Tengen being awesome. Kudos to the villains for coming up with some great strategy too. And finally, we finish with Fate's Saber versus Rider. Cinematic anime at its best. This, my friends, is what top-tier animation looks like. And with the free reign Ufotable got for a theatrical production, the team went all in on a fight that will very well give the Demon Slayer fights a run for their money. Compared to something like Unlimited Blade Works, Heavensfield is a tad few in the number of big fights. However, they do make up for it with quality. We got to see some amazing ones every movie, but this one serves as the perfect climax to it all. It's truly a joy to be able to watch this in cinemas. The scene just isn't complete without the sound quality a theatre provides to complement the already eye-popping special effects and animation being thrown at you from the big screen. Watching it on Netflix, well, it just doesn't compare. From a storyline perspective, I also like this because, for one, we're given some Rider love. Rider always loses early on in other routes, but this is the first time we see her unleash her full power, and it's nothing short of glorious. If you're someone who looks at fights in terms of production, special effects, and sound that pushes the whole encounter beyond its limits, then this is the fight for you. How's that for your 10 fights featuring sequels this time around? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if you're up for more, why don't you check out the channel. Also, come follow ViniiTube on social media through the links in the description box. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope that I can see you next time. Stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you again.